If you have those four things, projects of $100 million, I've been involved buying and selling a company, done it several times.
So, Pablo, first podcast, very exciting.
Yes, it is very exciting.
Tell me a bit about how you got involved in real estate.
I got involved in real estate since I was very young. My dad worked in construction on his free time. First as a handyman, eventually he did a couple of projects. So I learned about construction since I was a kid. I always say jokingly that every good Mexican knows how to mix cement with a shovel. And it is partially true, and even more for some time ago. But here in the States, I've done a bunch of fix and flips. I used to build hospitals. I have worked with real estate developers for the past 12 years, now doing it on my own. Next year, we will be building about 5 or 6 new houses, a few fix and flips. And the most interesting projects are the ones where we find land and turn it into a development. So that's a little bit of background history on real estate.
Got it. And how many years of experience would you say you have?
About 99 years of experience. That's all I'll say about that. A lot. Every deal puts on you experience beyond the years. I say my main experience is in putting deals together, and deals of any kind. Often a friend will say, I'm trying to sell my car. And you're like, how much? Well, I'm one of those guys that's like, if you buy it for this, and then you start renting it out. Like, I can't stop thinking about how to make a specific deal work. Sometimes there's a lot of positive into that, because over the years I've learned to go over obstacles. When you see a deal, most people say, oh, I got 80% obstacles. I'll never be able to get it done because look at the obstacles. Mm-hmm. I look at the deal a different way, saying, I think we can handle the obstacles. And there's a 20% chance of success for a regular person. And if I tackle these obstacles, then maybe I can do that 20% chance of success into a 75, 80, or 90. I think one of my biggest strengths is in understanding if a deal is going to work or not, and how to create the most value out of a deal.
So when someone brings a car to you and says, hey, I'm trying to sell my car, this has nothing to do with real estate. So how do you bring value in this type of relationship?
It's a great question. So one of the things that do you always need to ask yourself, and we don't need to talk about cars. A friend of mine, he was offered, hey, you should help me buy jet fuel, and if you can give me jet fuel at this price, I will give you a contract for the next 2 years. This literally happened a year and a half ago to a friend of mine. Then we were partners on some deals. And my first question to him was, how are you providing value to this transaction? What's preventing this? Like, to have some perspective, we're talking about $2 million of movement of product a month for a year, suddenly being offered to someone that had no experience in jet fuel. So I said, okay, let's think about it for a minute. Where are you going to get jet fuel from? Refinery. Okay. Sure. So what is preventing them to call the refinery? And we both couldn't answer that. Well, I don't know, but they're offering me this deal, so I'm going to take it. He spent a month and then realized that it was probably a scam. and then backed away.
Right.
We parted ways in our partnership, and I know that at some point he was looking at it again because now this other person really knew their stuff. What I'm trying to make the point of is on any deal, you have to understand how are you providing value. What is the deal that you and I were that we saw literally 2 days ago? Or I mean,
Which one was that?
oh, the one with Noah. I said.
Yes,
Bill,
yes.
So
I remember.
what was that deal that we saw it at this very
Yeah.
table?
It was almost 300 acres.
300 acres, right? Oh, that's right. I know this. It was an
Here-
assemblage.
An
Go ahead.
assemblage here in Georgia, and we somehow stumbled across this deal, and we were wondering why would they necessarily bring the deal to us, or what value could we add?
Correct. So to preface to whoever's listening out there, because if we are going to give information about this, it has to be in some sort of case study way. Because if you give the answer, you started by giving the answer. Mm-hmm. If you give the answer at first, then it's very difficult for anybody to learn anything from listening 30 minutes for this audio. So Noah comes to us saying 300 acres south of Atlanta, pre-zoned, this many units. Wow, like we made it. And they're selling it for only, what was it, 15 million, 20 million, something like that.
I think it was 20 million, 25.
There you go. Okay. And then the question was, do you guys think you can find a buyer? And here's the crux. For most people that would listen, it was like, well, I have no idea. I don't have
any contacts,
no network, no context.
Right.
Where would I go about finding a buyer? Okay. Well, that's an obstacle. That's your 80%. But if you move around in real estate, or if your life dependent on it, and there's like, I don't know, but let me pick up the phone and try to find big people that might find this. Mm-hmm. Like think about it for a moment. You don't know anything, but you want to make this work.
Right.
Because something very important depends on it. Like whatever it is. Like your ego or somebody's life.
Your mortgage.
Your mortgage. Something so simple. But
Yep.
Yes, of course. Baby's diapers. So could we make this deal work? And then you think to yourself, well, these are the steps that I need to get to that end result. I need to find the largest developers, the largest construction firms, mm-hmm. and then I need to put these two people in contact.
Right.
So how long will that take you? Is it going to take 50 years? Well, no. Again,
right,
I'm assuming I always do this. Extreme examples using mathematics is solution for most things. Mathematics teaches you that you go to zero, you go to negative infinite, you go to positive infinite. So for human terms, 50 years, it's a very long time. So in 50 years, you will learn whatever you need to have able to make this work. But you don't have 50 years. We want to do it today. Reality is, if you really poured all of your life into this, within 30 days, you could figure out who are the buyers of this deal, regardless if you're going to be in the deal or not. Mm-hmm. Okay? Yeah. Like
absolutely.
You Google, you call, you go to golf outings with important people and then just sneak in.
Right.
Whatever it is that you need to do to find out who would buy this deal. Okay?
Yep.
But then now, and I'm sorry, we're not talking about your car, but okay, how do you provide value? You've worked for a month doing this crazy idea that maybe you're going to find a buyer. So there's technicalities about it. How do you put it under contract? Are they going to believe that you're going to be the buyer? Are you going to get a marketing fee? There's technicalities at it, but let's keep the technicalities out of the way. The reality is there's something they're missing. And this is the question to ponder. If this was a case study, how are you going to provide value to these people? Moreover, why they give you a call? which is something I have to ask myself on every deal. Why are you bringing this deal to me? Oh, because I'm the expert. Okay, then I don't like. Right. Of course, if I'm the expert, of course you're bringing the deal to me.
Of course.
But if it's a car, why are you bringing your car to me? To like, it's this. Right. I'm not a car expert.
You're a real estate expert.
Or I'm an expert in many things, but cars is not one of them.
Yeah.
Maybe even airplanes, but not a car. Yeah. So how am I going to provide value to this person? So am I going to give him an idea that he didn't think about? Is he going to sell the car to my network? Does he think I have the money to buy it? Am I going to spend time trying to sell it? You have to provide value somehow. And then the other question is that value enough that you will get remuneration? So are you going to get paid for whatever you provided? And I'll make a segue to say that one of the most important things that I have found out, and I'll keep repeating these as long as we keep making podcasts, is that the 4 pillars of wealth, or the 4 pillars of value of any deal, are time, knowledge, network, and cash. If you have those 4 things, then you're providing value to a deal. If you're missing one and somebody else is providing that one, then that is how the balance starts to get even. A simple example, somebody has a lot of money and just like, hey, I have a lot of money, but I don't have time. So you put the time, I put the money, let's make this business work. Okay? Right. So, okay, what is a business? I don't know. Well, that's where the knowledge comes in. That's where the network comes in. Are you going to tie these things in? So going back to this particular example of the assemblage, 25 million, south side of the city, Noah finds it. He's very excited. And I'm saying, Noah, so we don't have cash. I mean, we don't have $25 million in the bank, but you're going to connect it. So do you have the network to put this together? Well, no, but in 30 days I can. I'll call enough people. Okay. Are you going to invest your time into making this deal happen? Do you have the knowledge of how to proceed with zoning, planning? And when you're not providing any of those 4, and yet these people are calling you, to me it means they're in trouble. Because either there's something wrong with the deal and they themselves don't have it under contract, or they're about to go underwater. There's something wrong with the picture, because if they had the knowledge and the network, probably they could find somebody else to get the cash. Yep. And with enough time, they keep the deal to themselves. And then they go from 25 million valuation to 200 million valuation, sell it for double, for triple, $1 billion valuation, like the deal we saw a week ago where they took 30, what was it, 30 acres or something?
It was about 30 acres, and the whole deal was $2 billion altogether.
Correct. And to be clear, $2 billion of fair market value after construction on 30 acres. That specific deal was in the north of Atlanta. Very interesting deal. I definitely want to visit that work site again. But the most interesting part of that specific deal, when we walked in to their offices, was where did it start? Because that's what we need to look after. Right now, you and I, that's where we need to look. Well, they started with an assemblage, and then they bought it long ago, probably, what was it, 15 years?
It was 17 years ago.
17 years ago. And then they started with properties that were worth whatever they were worth. And then they ran out of money, and then they had to go get more funds. And now I'm making some assumptions because I don't know the whole story. We know partial of the story. And right now the property is valued on tax assessments at $30 million.
Yep.
which means that they're paying taxes for over 30 million. And super interesting example. But after you and I started thinking of, well, they obviously have a lot of cash. And if they've been doing it for 17 years, they got a lot of time on their hands. In that time, they have all the network they require of making this happen. The problem is the project is taking so long that the county directors move in and out, and every 4 years is a new political spectrum, and their problems are different. But they got their deal structured. They don't need any
help.
They don't need any help.
They got all. Yeah, they have it all.
They have enough knowledge, network, time, and cash to make it happen. If anything, and we can talk about it in a different time, maybe not everybody that's working on that project is aligned towards the same goal, but that's a different story. So going back to the NOAA deal, and I point this way because that's where he was sitting. Yeah, that deal, after a very quick review, we were all in agreement that, one, if they're reaching out to him, they're in trouble.
Mm-hmm.
Two, very little value we could provide. Maybe if the deal would have been sold at 10 million, that would be around like, yeah, okay, let's get this done. We can raise $10 million. We can make this happen. And,
absolutely.
And that's within our ballpark. And this is what our friends have raised before and done involved in similar funds. Once you go to 25, it's like, well, been involved with them, but now it's like suddenly it starts going away from not the comfort zone, your area of value, right? Of you can really provide value through your network, through your knowledge on such a project. Projects of $100 million I've been involved with when it was a single hospital, and those sometimes would take 10 years, would take 7 years. I always make the joke, you started when you're 20 and you end up starting construction when you turn 30. So it's
and then you still have a few years.
And you still have a few left. Yeah, years of construction. But anyway. So going back to your car, yes. So you have to think of yourself. How are you going to provide value to that deal? And if there's none, then just give out whatever information you can, and don't ask for a fee. Like, you can't ask your friend, oh, I give you this idea, give me a fee. He's like, no, dude, it's his car, it's his time, and you provided a little bit of knowledge, but it was not crucial.
He probably could have figured it out.
He probably would have figured it out. And it's also not a recurring event. Yeah. Because when you have deals that are recurring events, then there's an argument that your knowledge or network will be used through time. So you need to be compensated through time. But
I think what you're referring to is recurring events, as in you help someone out, you help build that relationship up, you help build that, and then they become part of your network.
Correct. Well, and in addition to that you are going to have similar transactions like that in the future, which is the basis for any business. Any business has whatever they do, if it's selling widgets, providing service, it doesn't matter. You have the expectation of a recurring event. Mm-hmm. Even if you're focused on a transactional deal, like this is one-time deal, and then that's it. Well, let's do another transaction and another. So there has to be a recurring event.
Okay.
So, yeah.
And you've also, if I'm not mistaken, you've owned several businesses over the time?
Yes, a lot businesses. I still own 50% of a chemical company in Mexico. And I had an import and export business of wine. It's a complicated business, but you get into a lot of parties. What else? Multiple funds. At some point, I was helping manage over 70 different companies, each one with its own capital raise of anywhere from 1 to 5 million, and each one with different real estate properties. So I was helping manage over, 17,000 acres. So yeah, I've owned a multitude of companies.
You've also done quite a lot of consulting, correct?
A lot of consulting over the years, yes. Right now I don't do as much consulting unless I really like the person that I'm doing consulting for. Because it takes a lot of your time and and often they will not use your advice. So consulting, it's a great business. You get paid handsomely. But if often they will not heed your instructions, you get heartbroken all the time. Like, oh my God, they could be doing this and now they're not. And so it's a how do you say, a matter of love or an intent of love. You do it because you love consulting. You do it because you love the person that you're doing it for. In my case, because I don't need to do consulting. I think consulting is an amazing business, and I admire the people that do consulting day in, day out. I should probably turn out as a consultant. And I guess that's what I'm doing right now through the podcast and through many things that we do in real estate. But
so if someone is involved in real estate and somehow wants to get a hold of you, or has a deal and they just have some questions about it,
I never turned down a deal or an offer just because at first glance I don't like it. If somebody brings me a fix and flip, it's like, oh, Pablo, I have the opportunity to make $10,000 or $20,000. So that may be more on the smaller scale for me of the type of deals that I could do. But I understand how that deal might be so valuable for this person, because that 20,000 will be life-changing. Maybe they're on an income of 60 a year. Well, this is very significant, right?
Absolutely.
So I am mindful to sit, spend the time, and yes, of course, give my knowledge and tell people, well, this is what I think about your deal, and maybe I can connect you. And if I can be of service, of course, I'd love to be of service. If there's a way that I can help, excellent. If there's a way that I can help and I don't need to be involved because I'm going to provide value only for about an hour, then go ahead. But if you want me to provide value for a longer time, well, let's figure it out. So yeah, I never say no to analyzing or taking a look at a deal. I think that's the most important thing. In this world, and I tell you this all the time, we're being sold this Instagram glittery thing that's like, oh, you're gonna make so much money and it's gonna be so fast and it's just gonna happen, and
all these get rich quick schemes,
stuff
like that.
Well, I want to use the word scheme. They are get rich quick ideas or get rich quick methods. Okay, let's call it methodology.
Okay.
And in the end, they are selling you a methodology that they can say it was true for them. And they can say they trained one person to do so.
Themselves.
Well, no. I mean, at least to legally not be a pyramid, they have to train somebody that was not related. I don't remember the rules, but basically, if they teach somebody else to make more money than what they invested, then they're in the clear. And now, if you really hate them, you can go after them. But these people get sued all the time, and I don't even like. It's a complicated business, but it's a business that, in the end, brings them connections and brings them a soapbox to present ideas and notoriety, and that notoriety allows them to scale themselves into bigger deals.
Yep.
I made a post on the internet about being happy that I don't even know. We should look whatever that post was, but I think it was.
It was in your stories.
It was in my stories.
Just real quick. I think it was at a town meeting, and then it was just like a mock-up that an architect drew.
Right. And it was something so simple. And I was like, okay, I never post anything. I'm very private about my personal life. And I'm open to talk business as long as it's face to face. I don't say specifics. And I'm not going to post specifics on the internet for protection of whoever the investors and parties are involved. But because of that story is that you decided to connect with me. And now you and I are working 12 projects together. So that's when I said, okay, well, I'm looking at this all wrong. Maybe the way I provide the most value is by being more open to share, and the way to share in this day and age is this. So that's the point. So yes, of course, if somebody has a deal and they want to talk about it, I'm sure you're going to post something that says how to contact us, that it is not my personal phone on a Sunday.
It's not going to be your personal phone, I promise.
Thank you. Okay. And we will make space to think about that deal in the best way possible and figure it out and hopefully give them value.
Mm-hmm.
If it's good enough, maybe invest with them and keep moving along into whatever it is they want to do with that deal. And if it's an airplane, it's okay to give me a shout. If it's a car, I don't know, I'm the right guy. But if it's real estate, definitely, yeah, you can give me a shout.
Or companies, if you
or companies,
feel so
yeah,
bold.
buying and selling a company, done it several times. It's a lot of fun. We are still looking to the opportunity of buying a chemical company here in the States, you and I, and making synergies with the company we have in Mexico, which I need to take you so you visit it. It's you got your passport, right?
It's coming in. It's gonna be like a couple months.
Let's say yes.
Yes.
Okay. If we prove that we're going to get out of the country, you can get it faster.
Okay.
So yeah, don't worry. I've done it many times. So yeah, if you have a business idea, like I'm happy to take a look at it, of course.